Hello me lovelies, yes it's me, Tracey Ireland, the girl from Warren Road and queen of Torquay Town Centre hearts. I haven't seen you for a while, have I? To be honest, I've been keeping my head down. I have this habit of upsetting people in positions of authority. I can't understand why. If you know, do private message me, moi. Still, there's one mayor of Torbay, who has become my busy mate. Yes friends, tonight I've got His Highness, Patrick, the People's Mayor of Cockington with me in my bunker, here in the foothills of Torquay Town Centre's infamous Melville Hill. It's so lovely to see you Patrick, I know my fans are about to fall in love with you too. Do you like this little number, that I'm wearing this evening? I was coming down Union Street the other day, and spotted it in the British Heart Foundation shop. It's the exact colors of Ukraine, and as you know, I have this rather large attraction to the highly compact, yet strong and hunky, President Zelensky. He's a man with added zest, isn't he girls? As president, you can see that he is genuinely driven by wanting to help people. He's not interested in flattering his own ego. You never see him swanning about Kyiv, wearing heavy gold chains, Armani suits, and seeking adoration over tea and homemade cakes. Anyway, I'm still fuming about Patrick. What happened to him totally sums up Torbay, and his story is so bizarre, it even hit the Washington Post in America. But first, it's important to remember that we have local residents renting property in the Golden Triangle that is so dire, the windows are smashed and boarded up. Friends, it's outrageous that housing like this is actually being lived in, and has not been condemned by Torbay Council. After all, it is the 21st century, and we live in the 6th wealthiest country in the world. I don't believe housing was any worse than this, in the Victorian slums of the 19th century. Hang your heads in shame, ward councillors. You promised to deal with poverty to win votes. You said you wanted to help the poorest residents of Torbay, and you have done nothing that you said you would. My informants tell me that the Melville mural, that now features in my own introduction, and appears on a wall at the top of Warren Hill, cost a staggering £20,000. It seems a very expensive backdrop for councillors' electioneering campaigns next year, doesn't it? I mean, what else is it good for? People occupying rooms with boarded-up windows won't be able to use it to improve their view. Finally, before I hand you over to this amazing new series called Torquay Heads, I want to say again that the double standards I have witnessed are beyond belief. The council jumped on Patrick's owners following a single complaint, because his new stable was built in a conservation area, despite it being appreciated by lots of people. I and many others have been complaining about the terrible state of property being rented to the poorest and most disadvantaged people for over 13 months. Like Cockington and where Patrick's little stable was built, the houses in Torquay's Golden Triangle are also part of a conservation area. Although, it's extremely hard for most people to believe that, because of the way our particular area has been neglected and trashed over the years. Torbay planners should have made the landlords and owners of the properties with damaged windows adhere to the conservation rules, and made sure they carried out repairs to protect the local street scene, which they are meant to do. However, once again, Torbay Council's double standards have shown us all what a complete ass they are.
Torquay heads get to the bottom of the bigger questions. Like, why does Torquay Town Centre have so much poverty and deprivation? Why won't Torbay Council get tough with rogue landlords to help their poorest residents? Cordelia Palm Bay, of Palmlets, is a Torbay landlady. She owns the worst examples of private rented housing in Britain today, and gets away with it. Alec is a council officer. His job is to persuade people like Cordelia to house all the vulnerable, maladjusted and disadvantaged people who seem to end up in Torquay town centre.
Alec is coming. His bosses at the town hall have let him remove that piece of red tape that normally covers his mouth. I know he's about to grovel to me. He will want me to accommodate the latest set of scumbags to arrive in the bay. His ambition is to join the secret society of grey suits. Ward councillors like Mrs. Precious Love portray themselves as Torbay's leadership, but in truth it's the grey suits, with all their money and power, who have the final say.
Cordelia, have you seen the beautiful mural on the wall at Warren Hill? I've just been to take a look. Did I hear that Banksy has offered the community £20,000 for it? For that amount I think they should sell it and use the money to repair all the broken windows. Anyway, we're in a pickle up at the town hall. I must find somewhere for this chap who has just returned to the bay. Last year, he was evicted from a hostel in Paynton. He went up to Merseyside after that, where he has family. Honestly, I've been keeping my fingers and toes crossed, even praying that he would never come back to Torbay. But his behaviour up there was just as bad as it was here. Eventually, someone gave him a train ticket from Liverpool Lime Street to Torquay.
I'm getting tons of grief on social media from the homeowners and long-standing residents who actually live around Melville. They hold me personally responsible for introducing people like your chap into their community. They say it's all my fault when their lives are made a living hell by the drug dealing, noise and antisocial behaviour. The grey suits, who pull your strings too, must make it very worthwhile financially if I am to increase numbers.
Oh please Cordelia, when have you ever been bothered by what other people say about you? You are as tough as old boots. You think that everyone that lives in the town centre are worthless scum. I wouldn't be allowed to know if the grey suits did a financial deal with any council up north to take another maladjusted person off their hands and set them loose in Torbay. I can ask them to consider paying you more money on top of the benefit entitlements you automatically get.
It's not just what people say, Alec. There are emotional and psychological pressures to deal with as a Torbay landlady. My properties are forever being trashed by the mentally ill. Entry doors constantly being kicked in by the police, windows smashed, locks broken, it's never ending. 3 years ago, I got told that the Liberal Democrats were threatening to license private landlords under the Housing Act to win votes. I would need to cut down on the number of holidays I have if that happens.
Well Cordelia, remember to trust the secret grey suits. They made sure that any ideas the ward councillors had to license you lot were soon sat upon. They don't ever make you comply with planning rules, like they have with Patrick the Pony in Cockington. The council need private landlords. You will home someone who is so antisocial, no one else will take them. Then, we have those who always get evicted, drug dealers, and smackheads to find shelter for. You save our bacon Cordelia. You're a Torbay treasure.
People around Melville and Warren don't consider me a treasure. But I have space for compassionate conservatism like my brother, the Right Reverend Defeffel Palm of Wellswood. And you're right, Alec, without us, what would happen to the dregs of British society? If I hadn't been inspired by Lady Thatcher to use my initiative some 40 years ago and invest in buying lots of the cheap property for sale in Torbay after the collapse of traditional seaside holidays, they would have nowhere.
You don't look old enough to have been doing business for over 40 years Cordelia. But those at the top really know about all the money that can be made from farming poverty. The guaranteed income of the benefit entitlements low-lifes bring in is just the icing on the cake. Your brother is rumoured to be a leading Torbay grey suit Cordelia. His handshake has been remarked upon many times.
Defeffel is the pillar of discretion, Alec. He would never divulge something like that, not even to our darling mummy, the retired judge, Mrs. Ethel Palm Bay, at Warbury Hall.
So dear friends, what do we think is really going on here? There's no doubt, sheer disbelief still resonates across the bay, over the Liberal Democrats' rejection of their key election pledge to license private landlords, and therefore reduce opportunities to fight poverty during their term of office with the independents. Licensing would have significantly raised living standards for the poorest communities. We still welcome the chance to hear the current administration's rationale for their change of heart. Our theory is that Torbay Council's housing situation is so dire that even the worst landlords are seen as a precious commodity. They have escaped being licensed, and even get away with breaching planning regulations. Unlike poor Patrick the Pony of Cockington. Whilst the council won't admit it, private landlords have achieved a position of power. They can stand against anything that impacts on their profit margins, or increases their obligation to their tenants and local communities. It is likely that council officers even warned the Liberal Democrats not to go ahead with licensing, and possibly had sufficient powers to block the original idea. If this is found to be true, there would be more sympathy for the councillors who will be held to account for their decision next year, and an own goal for the opposition. A house of multiple occupancy, full of drug dealers and smashed windows, is seen as better than nothing. It's all pretty dire, if true.